Hello children. Every now and then we hear on the television that the prices of petrol and diesel have gone up. Gas cylinders will cost more and the vegetables will cost more. You read about such news all the time in the newspapers. You also hear your parents discussing about the rising price of commodities. The change in the price of commodities affects all of us. We will discuss how.
All the adults, like your parents, earn money by doing work. They may be engineers, doctors, or teachers. Now they have to balance their income with their expenditure.
You would have heard about that saying, always cut your coat according to your cloth. It simply means that we must spend in the limit of our budget, never overspend. Budget is an estimate of income and expenditure for a set period of time. Your parents may have a monthly or yearly budget. It means how much money can you comfortably spend without coming into any kind of debt. Well, our budget is not the same every year. The prices of the commodities, as we discussed earlier, keep going up with the time.
For example, our favorite noodles Maggi was launched in the market at the price of Rs 2.10 paisa. And now a packet costs Rs 5 and it has lesser quantity in it. Just like Maggi, the prices of everything around us go up with time. This is inflation. Continuous rise in prices over a period is called inflation. Do not think that inflation affects only bigger commodities like the prices of cars and houses and stocks. It also affects things like groceries and house supplies. It can also affect things like house payments and rent.
Well, the sad aspect is that when inflation rises, people's paycheck do not double up in the same proportion. This means that people have spent more of the money to buy the same things that they used to be able to buy for less. Governments usually keep track of how much inflation rises, and this is usually done with percentage. You might hear someone say that the inflation rate is 10%. This means that the price of something now is 10% higher than it was a year ago. Now, can you tell me who is affected the most by increase in cost of living? Obviously, the poorer section of the society. Daily wage workers and people with fixed income are the worst hit. They cannot afford to buy the same number of goods as before. The rich section of the society and those who work in the corporate sector are, however, not affected by the inflation. They start investing their money in a way to increase their earning or start getting paid more from their respective companies. So they can easily deal with the inflation. But do you know that certain sections of the society also get benefited because of inflation?
When inflation occurs, the people working in central and state government offices get additional payment called dearness allowance. Businessmen also recover the higher cost of living by selling their goods at a high rate. People who provide us day-to-day services like doctors, lawyers, barbers, dry cleaners, and even housemaids start charging more for their services to deal with the inflation.
But they may fix their charges as per their own sweet will. And that is why it is important to regulate prices. The consumers will take loans to meet their expenses and may get under heavy debts. Now let us discuss how we measure the change in price of a commodity. Change in price is measured with the help of a statistical device referred to as price index. Before we go ahead, let us first understand what is the relationship between the consumers, retailers and wholesalers.
The wholesaler usually gets their goods and pricing from the manufacturer at a much cheaper rate because whatever they buy in bulk. That is the reason you would have heard that it is better to buy things from wholesalers as they are comparatively cheaper. The retailers or the shopkeepers in the market buy the stuff they need from wholesaler, add their profit margin and sell it further to the customer.
Wholesale Price Index or WPI is a measure of the change in the prices charged by manufacturers and wholesalers. Wholesale price indexes measure the changes in commodity prices at a selected stage or stages before goods reach the retail level. The prices may be those charged by manufacturers to wholesalers or by wholesalers to retailers, or by some combination of these and other distributors. Consumer Price Index measures only changes in prices of a few selected consumer goods at the retail price. In India, CPI is published on a monthly basis and food inflation on an annual basis. Food inflation, as you would have rightly guessed, is the rise in the prices of food items. Now let us discuss, how does our government regulate the prices? The government fixes the price level of essential commodities and makes it mandatory for all traders to sell the goods in the market at that price. This is known as administrative price mechanism.
APM is essential to prevent hoarding and to keep the prices of essential commodities within reasonable levels. Those who do not follow the rules and directions of the government are penalized. Goods such as petrol, diesel, LPG, CNG are examples of goods sold under APM. The government also monitors the prices of food grains in the market. Government also uses the import-export policy to regulate the prices. For example, when there is a rise in the prices of food items, it restricts the import of such items. When there is a shortage of certain commodity and prices shoot up, government increases the import to bridge the gap.
Whenever there is a price rise, the Reserve Bank of India, the head of all banks in India, reduces the money circulation in the economy by asking the banks to lend more or less money to the borrowers and allow the depositors to withdraw more or less money from the banks as per the requirement. Sometimes RBI increases the rates of interest charged on the loans, also to bring down the inflation. Obviously, when people will pay more interest, they will be left with less money to buy goods. The demand for goods will fall and the prices will automatically come down. Got that?
Keeping the poor section of the society in mind, government has come up with the public distribution system. The prices of goods sold under PDS are less than the market rate, and the difference in the price, or the subsidy as we call it, is borne by the government.
Well, I am sure by now you have understood the concept of inflation and its relation with the standard of living. Who doesn't want to have a good standard of living? I am sure our government is doing all that it can to check the inflation and help us by keeping the inflation in control. I sincerely hope that the prices of the petrol do not increase further, or else I will no longer be able to come for my shoots in my car. Just kidding. Bye.